Let's start from the early days. Have you always lived in Florida? How long have you been in Florida?
I've been in Florida since '87. Moved down here from New York, and you know what happened? I looked and I said, everybody's moving down to Florida when they retire. What am I waiting for?
Right.
What am I going to wait till I'm 65 years old and then move down to Florida at that point? I mean, what's the point?
I agree.
So I decided to say, we'll check it out. I didn't have a lot of roots at the time. I was young, and I moved down here. And what was great about it was pretty much wide open back in '87. Back in '87, it was a whole different environment than it is now. I mean, it's not a New York here. It's not a London, but, it's a lot more infrastructure built, a lot more business down here. So I moved down in '87 and kind of plunked down the stakes and just said, wow, this is...
Did you go to college back in New York or back east?
Up in New York.
Okay.
Up in New York, and came down here and immediately just started working in the financial business. Always been a student of the financial business.
Yep.
Actually, never finished college.
Okay.
I decided that what's the point of doing this when I can be making money in the markets? And I loved studying economics.
Right.
I loved studying everything from an early age. And really, just one of the things I did, just for your listeners, is that I absorbed everything that I could from the best that I was told in the industry.
Right.
That's how I learned everything that I could learn. I still do that. You find the best people in the industry, and you just basically just suck them dry as best as you can of their information, and it's great.
It interesting because I agree as a trader, and I didn't learn about trading in college, and I don't think many people do learn about trading in college. There's very few programs that even have real trading desks, and I think the only way that you learn about trading is by doing. And it really comes down to any specialty, whether you're a doctor, lawyer, you really still have to go to school, but you still have to do it. You have to experience it. You have to live it. So you said at a very young age you were interested in the markets. How young? When did that light bulb go on for you, Andrew? I mean, when you were 8 years old, and did you have a family member that was involved in markets that got you interested? What happened there?
Yeah, my grandfather was always talking about the markets, always talking about the Dow and, this stock and that stock, and I was always listening in to what he was talking about. Probably from around, when the light bulb went on that I could really remember identifying, I was probably 14, 15 years old, and I remember maybe a little earlier than that, and I remembered, this is interesting. There's another way than just using your hands and using your money that you make from working of any sort. There's another way to actually make money. Now, that could be good or bad. I could do both, right? I could have a job and I could have an account of some sort, which my grandfather did. He was actually president of public corporations at the time. I just really spent time learning everything that I possibly could. At the same time, I'll tell you something. In the early days, I learned things that I realized I shouldn't have learned. You realize that when you're in the business and professionally doing it, that people are teaching you, and when you're young and impressionable, you listen to them.
Right.
But then when you step back, it takes a while sometimes to realize what's going on. You realize, man, that guy just ripped that guy off. That's not good.
Right.
So it was, good experience to learn how to not do that, and both sides. So that because this business can, that it could really do a lot of damage to people who aren't aware of what's going on, particularly the client.
Absolutely, I agree, and that's part of, again, my reasoning for doing this series is to talk to people about some pitfalls and some traps that you need to be aware of, and obviously the environment is such now that people are more aware with the Madoffs and the Bear Stearns and the Lehman collapses, but it's always been out there. There's always been pitfalls, and there's always been sharks in this business. So as a child, again, so you're 14, 15. How about games? What types of games did you play? I'm always curious.
What kind of games did I play? That's a good question. I used to flip cards all the time. We used to have the setup of cards and. Well, I played poker, love poker. Yeah, I love poker.
Yeah.
Played blackjack and those kind of cards, but I played flip cards, the baseball cards.
Yeah.
And those had to be set up a certain way and understand. It was a bit of if you really think about it, it was kind of a behavioral finance process.
Right.
Because you had to know what the other person was doing in order to kind of flip your cards in the right order,
so you'd say
and then get the
top batting average takes the next card type thing, and you'd have a stack of 20 cards and you'd trade them among your friends. Yeah.
We would do with colors. We would do the team colors. So you'd set it up, and whoever got a match the color, you'd get those. So you'd have to know, okay, this guy would do it this way all the time, set your cards up that way, and double down on certain things. Anyway, the point was that you had to kind of have a good understanding of, this is kind of silly. It's not like, brain surgery or anything, but it would be, it would make you understand all the players around you, how they were thinking, what they were thinking, and what you had to do to win theoretically, and know that they were thinking the same thing at least.
Right.
So that was something.
That's a trade for sure. I mean, that's, as you said, behavioral finance. I mean, trading and charts and fundamentals and technicals are nothing more than somebody's got to take the other side of the trade. There's got to be a buyer and a seller for us to agree upon a price.
Exactly.
So you came up with a market that said, hey, if you match a color, you get that color. If you don't match it, it goes into a pile until you match, right? So
exactly.
That's very interesting. I've never heard that one. But so did you play baseball, football, those types of games when you were a kid?
Yeah, I played baseball, tennis. I didn't play much golf at a young age, but I played a lot of tennis. I played one tryout of football, and I decided not doing this. Too hot.
You said that's enough. Yeah.
Didn't get hit. It was just the running. I said, "What's the point of the running? I'm not doing the running." So then played a lot of, like I said, played a lot of tennis. I was into boating, into fishing. We went out to Montauk every year when I was young, and big boaters. A lot of fishing out on for stripers and fluke and sharks and whatever else we can do out there. Really enjoyed that, and also big into photography when I was young. Actually had my own darkroom. And then grew up and did the same thing and didn't need a darkroom anymore and still fish and have a boat, have a little house on a lake up in northern north part of Florida with some jet skis and have a good time up there.
Awesome. So there's a lot of themes there. I mean, fishing to me is not very it's a sport that demands a lot of patience, I believe.
Yes. Oh yeah. No question.
And trading and investing, I think, no matter what your time frame is, demands gruppemands a lot of patience. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I mean, different kinds of patience, right? I mean, patience and frustration wrapped up in the same thing. That's also with fishing. Fishing a lot of times you may get a fish, but it breaks off the line, right? It may break off the line as soon as it comes right up to the surface. The fact is that, in fishing also there may be days upon days that you're just out there and you're seemingly doing all the right things, but nothing's happening. And you're not winning, so to speak. So I think there's a lot of things there. And unfortunately, the same thing happens.
Yeah, just as investing and trading, you can put on a position and have it be the right position, but the wrong time and the wrong place.
Right, or just do nothing forever. I mean, there's a difference between trading and investing. We also, you put a position on and you buy, ABC stock and it just sits there and just sits there and just sits there for weeks at a time. And you're thinking, what's happening? Things are passing me by. So, it requires a lot of patience. And sometimes you have to listen. Sometimes you got to throw it in and say, okay, enough is enough. I'll come back another day.
Right.
But at the same time, you have to do what you believe is right and know the right bait, if you will, to put in the water in order to catch that fish. And if that doesn't work, you also have to know you're going to have to change it up. You're using the red lure for 3 days because this is the right one, but they're only biting on blue. Well, you be stubborn and fight the fish tape, if you will. You're not going to get anywhere.
So you moved down to Florida in '87. Is that when did you get into the financial industry at that point right away? 20 years ago?
I did. Yep, I did. I was doing a bit in New York, but at the same time I decided that maybe I'll come down to Florida and continue it. And I hooked up with some great people. There was a few people on the radio down here that were doing a great service and had a radio show on the weekends, very popular. And I started working with them because they really understood at the time, back when, it was a different world back then, even 20-something years ago, what was going on, and it was a great way for me to get clients. And I still have many of those clients from those days, as a matter of fact. Okay. And then became more involved. Those were the days of the mutual funds, primarily, packaged products, if you will. Right. And then became much more involved in individual equities, a lot more research on that level, and kind of broke away and did it on our own more so.
So how long have you run your own shop, your own registered investment advisory shop? How long have you done that?
I think it's since 1990.
1990. So pretty soon after. I mean, you were down there 3 or 4 years, and you got right into it.